you want to pass the WASSCE exams in Sierra Leone. Here's how. So, this is going to be the first part of my 3-part series on acing the WASSCE exam. So before we get into anything, we need to understand what WASSCE is and what it's for. WASSCE is actually a standardized test taken in Anglophone West African countries. It stands for West African Senior School Certificate Examination. That is a lot of words, and it's organized by the West African Examination Council, or WAEC. It's taken in Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, the Gambia, and Liberia. It's really important for university admissions, high school graduations, employment in different fields, and in general, it just helps the educational development and helps improve the standards of education nationwide. So why is it so hard? Yeah, especially in Sierra Leone, our grades usually do not commensurate with the grades of Ghanaian, Nigerian top students, and there are reasons for that actually. So while I was preparing for the WASSCE exams myself, I did some deep digging into what exactly these top students did to get their amazing grades, to finish the syllabus on time, and to be familiar with all those hard questions that are tested on the WASSCE. So for starters, we have to understand why the questions are hard. Hard in the sense that there is a very wide syllabus for almost every subject in WASSCE. So WASSCE tests about 9 maximum subjects and 7 minimum subjects for each candidate, and there's so much material you have to cover across 3 years from SS1 to SS3. And not only that, the questions themselves, the style of the questions require you to retain lots and lots of information. So it isn't an easy task. Or is it? After my research phase and after I found out the various things that people needed to do to pass these exams across West Africa, I found out there were some common trends. There were some things that students realized across other African countries that we weren't making use of, and those were a game changer for me. So with all that being said, one of the major things I realized is that we weren't properly making use of the materials at our disposal. So hence the name of this first part, Arsenal. As in, not Arsenal the team, Arsenal, what we have available. This is going to be a pretty general video because I want to make it apply to every subject. I was a science student myself, and I would make separate videos that delve deeper into science related subjects, but for now this advice cuts across every stream. Now to the Arsenal itself. Number 1, your best friend. This guy, past papers. Past papers are one of the most important things you could use for any test, exam, or assessment around the world, because you need to know how exactly questions are drawn, the style of questions, what is commonly tested, the patterns. Like for sometimes, if you notice, if you go through certain past papers, maybe every odd year there's a certain style of questions that's asked, or every even year, maybe every 2 years this topic comes back, every year this topic comes back. So you see what to expect when you analyze and deeply study these past papers. Most subjects, WASSCE has been around for a pretty long time by now, so there are not many new questions that can be drawn on non-calculation subjects. So calculation subjects, you can always draw a new calculation or math problem, but when it comes to theory, literature, and reading things, then there's not much else they can draw at this point. When you look at these past papers, you see the commonly tested areas. Let's say you're in your final year S3 and you're way behind in the syllabus. Using these past papers can help you structure your studies around those areas that are most likely to appear. You can study and see that, oh, 2023, maybe this topic was tested. 2021, it was, so obviously it's going to be tested in 2025 if they're going by the same patterns. And as time goes on, you end up filling your knowledge gaps with these past questions until you pretty much know almost everything there is in them. Another way you can use them is preparing yourself for the exam day itself. For example, testing yourself by timing yourself. Time yourself with the actual exam time. see how fast you can answer questions and how accurately you can answer them as well, and keep improving your speed and accuracy until you know that you're ready to take the exam in that very moment. So you can use them as your mock or practice exams at home. That's a very helpful WASSCE studying technique. Now, here are two other guys that you should make your best friends. This guy and this guy. So the reason why they're important is that they go along with past papers and your studies. You can know the question being done. You can know the material that answers those questions. For example, if let's say you're doing mathematics, maybe you do know the topic of swords, but your steps or your what you're doing, your step-by-step process of answering the question doesn't align with what the examiners want to see. So having marking schemes tells you what they are looking for in how you answer your questions. And to be honest, one of the things that helped me in WASSCE is knowing how I needed to answer questions for maximum marks, because it's sad, you can actually study everything but you don't know how to answer the questions how they want you to answer the question. There are certain nuances and intricacies that go into answering WASSCE questions that need to be a part of you. I learned one useful tip. This is just an example. In biology, when you don't know the name of a specimen and you're trying to describe it in a biology practical, if it was specimen A on the diagram, you just say specimen A again, or if it's specimen 1, just say specimen 1 again. If you don't know the name and you put the wrong name thinking that you always have to put the name, then you end up missing marks because you put the wrong name, and you could have easily gained or retained those marks if you just said specimen A. Also, chief examiner's report is pretty similar. The chief examiner's report tells you the common mistakes students make. So chief examiner, I think, is the main person that reviews the different scripts or a random selection of scripts that have been marked, and comments on the things that students did wrong, the things that they did well, and using that information, you end up knowing what mistakes to avoid, and also you end up building your strengths around the things that they want to see. So where can you find these? YouTube and this website, waeconline.ng. This website, I use this a lot actually for my subjects because it gave chief examiners reports and past papers as well. For past papers, you can use myschool.ng. It's a Nigerian website, but it has past papers online from 1976 to present. Just imagine 1976, and they're also answered as well for almost all the subjects. Yeah, so always have your marking scheme and your chief examiner's report. Some are on YouTube because there's some people that go over and explain the marking schemes on YouTube. There are limited WASSCE resources available on YouTube, but the ones that are there are also very useful. So you have your chief examiner's reports, your past papers, your marking scheme. What next? So this is the last part. You need the material itself, the source material. Before you answer anything, you need to source of your answers, and these are the textbooks that we see around, the pamphlets and all. One problem I had though is that for our Sierra Leonean syllabus, we didn't have very well written, or sometimes we didn't even have at all, textbooks that cater to Sierra Leonean syllabus. We borrowed textbooks from other countries, Ghana, Nigeria mainly, and it was a real struggle, for example, with agriculture, because we used essential agriculture series mostly, and the land reforms and stuff that were there applied to Nigerian laws, so we couldn't use those answers for Sierra Leonean questions. The Sierra Leonean textbook we had was Giola Dixon Senior Agriculture for Senior Secondary Schools or so, and it was outdated. A lot of information in that book was already outdated. I think the author sadly passed away. So for now, since we have this vacuum or lacuna in the textbook space, we can use YouTube and this guy, one of the newest guys in town, but he's actually the biggest guy in town, ChatGPT. So it's like Google, but Google gets giving you the exact answers every time, so you don't have to scroll through and find the right thing. it does that for you and gives you the answers. So with ChatGPT, you can generate those very specific answers you need to very specific questions. It can even make notes for you. It can answer questions for you. It can generate questions to test you. It can give you a timetable, a study schedule, tips, advice, resources, basically anything you want it can give you, as long as it's feasible for it to give you. So you need a good source of material. Yeah, apart from some history, agriculture, government, I think when it comes to certain subjects, their information is very objective. So geography is objective, although there are parts of Sierra Leonean geography where you need a Sierra Leonean textbook. That was another problem, by the way. We used essential geography, and that is Nigerian textbook, so we didn't have Sierra Leonean specific geographical facts. But over time, you can fill in these gaps by seeing past papers as well. You already know that, oh, this question comes on Sierra Leone, so let me find the answer with Google or ChatGPT or YouTube video. So yeah, that's your arsenal. So yeah, that's the first part of this multi-part series. It was really long, I know, but it was important. I know our attention spans are cooked, but it was important. I hope you learned something that you hadn't learned or you didn't know before. These are things I wish I knew way earlier when I was prepping for WASSCE, but by the time I knew them, they were still a great help. Like, no matter when you find out this information, just make use of it. It's a game changer. Like, trust me, I got so many A's and B's just using these methods, because they're there, hidden in plain sight. It's just there for you to find, but we usually aren't told these things. So yeah, the next video is going to be on having a game plan, what exactly you need to do, or how you need to structure your studies to get the maximum grades, and some subject specific tips. But that's it for the first part, the arsenal. I hope you loved this video. If you did, please interact, show some love, and yeah, peace out.